So Carl Brower here at Motorlux. This is kind of the kickoff event for really the big car shows here at Car Week, and this one never disappoints. And I say that as I stand next to a La Ferrari here, but that's just the car in the corner here, as my cameraman Will noted and all. Hey, look, they stick the Ferrari La Ferrari in the corner. Apparently, couldn't get premier locations, but let's just take a look what else here. You know, you've got the 5. Is that a 550 or 575? I'm not sure. I love them both.
It looks like 575.
You've got a Ford GT. I've got some experience with these cars. Here we are in front of a Koenigsegg Regera, and this is part of the Broad Arrow auction group that's happening. All these cars that are up for auction, they've got estimates on it. This one, if you're curious, is over $3 million. That's the estimate for what this 2019 Koenigsegg Regera is going to go. So one of the things you always realize about this week is that it's not just about vintage cars. It's often as much or more about new cars. Manufacturers know the kind of people that show up here. There are a lot of enthusiasts, a lot of high income, well-heeled, as they say, enthusiasts. So they show off a lot of their new product to try to get people excited, such as maybe a brand new Z, as we see right next to us here. But I love the fact that you see a Z, and then, you know, right behind me I've got both a Pagani and a DeLorean. So that's what Car Week is all about. Events like this, you're going to see everything. If you think there's a car out there you're never going to see, come to Car Week, and probably at the first event you're going to see it. So far, all we've seen are these newer cars, right? These newer sports cars, but again, this is Pebble Beach. You see everything this weekend. So at Monterey Jet Center, we've got 1931 Chrysler Imperial. This is a Chrysler, okay? Now this is Chrysler, the brand at its peak. And if that's not enough for you, right behind me is one of the V16, as in 16-cylinder Cadillac Roadsters. I'm standing right here between a head-on collision of a Miura and a Toyota 2000. Now, what's fascinating about these cars is this is an iconic car from the 60s, and everyone's known it basically since the car was new. A lot of people call it the first supercar, mid-engine, V12, Lamborghini Miura. Beautiful, right? But this car is a Toyota. Now, Toyotas aren't like on the same level of Lamborghini, are they? If you check the auction prices for these, you're going to find out that they absolutely are. And these were really cool cars. Everyone knows that they were beautiful. They're very rare. They actually were featured in one of the James Bond films. Mr. Bond 007 drove a convertible version of one of these in one of the James Bond films, I believe. This is a Toyota 2000 GT, and the estimate is between $1 and $1.2 million. So let's go look at the Miura and just see what its estimate is. 1.6 to 1.9. So again, Lamborghini, Toyota, same era, and not that far apart in current value. So, you know, these shows are supposed to be fun. You're supposed to see your dream cars, but sometimes they're a little painful when you see one of your former dream cars, as in you formerly owned it. And that's the case with a midnight blue Ford GT. Of course, Mr. Doug DeMuro now has possession of my Ford GT, my 05 blue Ford GT. But I see one like this and I still get a little bit of a hankering and wishing I still had mine. But if I get real depressed, I just focus on the XJ220 in the background, because that's also a pretty cool car, and I've never owned one of those, so I can aspire versus be depressed. Once again, you get to see automotive history right in front of you. In this case, what a lot of people consider the first modern supercar. Not the first supercar, that was the Miura, but the modern supercar taking advantage of maximum technology. In this case, the all-wheel drive turbocharged Porsche 959. They never officially sold these in the U.S. There was a lot of effort to try to gray market them in. People like Bill Gates trying to move them in here in the late 80s and 90s. And a lot of them getting stuck in cargo containers for a long time. I don't know where to look, right? Do I look at the LFA? Do I look at the Carrera GT? Or do I look at the standby F40? Well, let's talk about the F40, because that's the car, okay? This was the last, what they called bad boy Ferrari, meaning, first of all, it was the last Ferrari overseen directly by Enzo before he passed away, but more importantly, this was the last Ferrari most people feel was made for true die-hard drivers, not, well, less than die-hard drivers. I'll not use any bad language here. You didn't drive one of these cars because you wanted to have a nice Ferrari to drive around. This car didn't have any creature comforts, okay? It was very hard to live with, very loud, very unrefined. They wouldn't make a car like this today, sadly. Ferrari is a different company, but one more shot out the cannon from Enzo about a car that was meant to do nothing but perform well. That's all it was a performance car.